The New York Mets have just made a sneaky good signing that is going to help out this team in an absolutely huge way, as the Mets have had some glaring holes on this roster as they are building a championship contender. And also, we have an official update on one of the Mets free agents, and we now know exactly what is going to be happening with him entering into free agency. And there's a lot to go over on the New York Mets right now, guys. Obviously, this has been a very, very crazy part of the year where some teams are still in the playoffs. Right now, it looks like we're about to see a Mariners-Dodgers World Series, and every other team is gearing up for free agency, trying to build a winning team, or being like the Pirates or teams like that who aren't trying to build winning teams. But with the Mets, we know what's going to happen. They're ready to spend a ton of money to go out there and build one of the best teams in baseball after one of the most disappointing seasons that any team had this year. So there's a lot to go over with this, and they've already gotten started. But before we do that, guys, if you are part of that 77% that's not subscribed to Mets Digest, make sure to subscribe for daily New York Mets videos from our whole team at Mets Digest. It's a really exciting time to be a baseball fan right now going into free agency. But with all that being said, we're going to jump right into things as always, because the Mets, they've wasted no time getting busy. Obviously, it's going to be a pretty hectic offseason for David Stearns and the entire Mets front office, because frankly, they do have some moves that have to be made. There's some holes that have to be filled on this team. Obviously, there's a slew of different top targets for the Mets, guys like Cody Bellinger, potential trade options when it comes to starting pitchers, potential signing options when it comes to starting pitchers like a Shane Bieber, something like that. There's a lot that the Mets have to do to fill some holes on this roster. Obviously, as we know, their two best pitchers right now are guys who were rookies last year and didn't even pitch a full season. So there are going to be guys that just have to come in here and give stability to this roster if the Mets want to be serious about winning a World Series, which we know they are. On top of that, there's obviously the Kyle Tucker stuff, and that'll be a thing with the Mets, on top of some other positions as well. But look, right now, with everything going down, the Mets have made a sneaky good signing, adding this guy onto the team, and this is a bigger help than people realize, as it was recently announced that lefty sidearm reliever Joe Jacques has agreed to terms with the Mets on a minor league deal, according to a source, and will receive a major league camp invite. The deal is worth a prorated $800,000 if he's on the roster. Jacques, a native of Red Bank, New Jersey, has 25 games of MLB experience. Now, on top of that, in 7 minor league seasons, he has a 4.19 ERA and a 1.40 whip, including a 6.02 ERA and a 1.66 whip this past season, as he split time between the AAA affiliates of the Dodgers and the Mariners. The Mets will be rebuilding their bullpen this offseason, with A.J. Minter returning from lat surgery and Brooks Raley, the only 2025 bullpen members who seem like locks to be back. Other than members of the Mets 40-man roster who could be relief options next season include Drew Smith, who should be ready to go after rehabbing from Tommy John surgery, and Huascar Brazaban, on top of that, and Jonathan Pintaro and Dylan Ross. So there's options out there, but right now, obviously, the Mets do have to go out there and sort of get this whole pitching from starters to bullpen really getting going, and Jacques is a step in that direction 100%. No doubt about that. I mean, look, obviously, he's not had the greatest career thus far. In the 25 games he's appeared in for his career, he's got a negative .2 WAR and a 5.46 ERA. He has a save to his name and a start to his name, has 22 strikeouts in the 29.2 innings pitched and a 1.652 whip, which means he's allowing around 1.6 base runners per inning, which is obviously not what you want to see, because it's basically putting someone in scoring position more often than you're not. So we're pretty much putting someone in scoring position every inning. So you don't want to see that. And frankly, with Jacques, this is a guy who the Mets are trying to build up and see if they've got anything here for. Being a lefty sidearm means you do have a weird ability to just start tying people up. And frankly, I truly believe here that David Stearns is just taking a chance. He sees something here, and it's worth the shot. There's no reason to not go out there and shoot your shot with this one. It makes sense to try to do, but it does obviously leave some cause for concern. Mets fans were obviously not super high on this. Just saying, the Mets wasted no time signing another loser. I was laughing. It cracked me up. Another loser who you know will get major league appearances with pitches with actual talent. See you in May on Syracuse when our bullpen is gassed. Joe Jacques has been designated for assignment. The Mets have recalled Joe Jacques. People complaining do not realize they could sign major league again until the World Series, right? So that's why that's such a lower bar signing, because it's still, there's still baseball going on. There's still playoff baseball, so that does explain a lot of it here. But obviously, fans are not gonna be ready to jump over the moon for this Joe Jacques signing. It's interesting. I want to see where it goes. It'll be a fun story to follow throughout the rest of the offseason and training camp and preseason and all that stuff and see what happens. But there also is a lot more to go over. I mean, pitchers and catchers is in 5 months, so we'll get some more news around then with Joe Jacques. But also on top of that, we do have more updates on the Mets free agency. It's a big update in regards to one of their mainstays on this team, Starling Marte. We now have an official update from one of the Mets' key insiders on his future with the team as the 37-year-old gears up to hit free agency, and obviously his career being on the downswing, being 37 years old. There's a lot of questions surrounding Marte. Can he still be a reliable player? Can he still play the outfield at all? Is he going to be a DH for the rest of his career? Can he even put up DH numbers? There's a lot of questions surrounding Marte, and well, Mets fans have wondered what exactly is going to happen. There has been a side that everyone's been leaning towards, and Danny Abriano did mention that Marte has been an important Met during his 4 years in New York, but the writing seems to be on the wall here, with Marte not a strong fit at DH, no longer being able to provide much value in the outfield, and with the Mets looking to become a more defensive-oriented team, it's time for the two sides to part ways. Now, on top of that, Abriano did mention that after starting 85 games in right field in 2024 and serving as the designated hitter 9 times, Marte mainly became a DH option in 2025 as he served in that capacity 77 times and started in the outfield just 8 times, 6 in left field, 2 in right field. Entering into his age 37 season in 2026, it's fair to believe that Marte will be in a DH-only role or in a hybrid role where he isn't relied on to play the outfield much. If he returns to the Mets, the club would, in effect, be giving up any kind of defensive versatility with that roster spot. It's hard to make an argument for doing so since Marte isn't a classic DH. While Marte has some pop, he only just slugged at .410 while hitting only 9 home runs in 2025. That's not going to cut it in a world where New York's regular DH for 2026 is someone on the roster in 2025. The guess here is that it's Mark Vientos, which makes sense. If it's going to be anyone, Vientos is probably the guy, though there's also a good likelihood that we see the Mets go in a few different directions for this. Now, Marte, he is someone who, I mean, didn't have the world's worst year as a platoon guy, don't get me wrong. He hit around average. I mean, the batting average wasn't bad. It's at 270. The OPS at 745 is very, very, very slightly below average, but the OPS is slightly above average, or the OPS plus is slightly above average with 111. So around an average hitter this year, but doesn't have enough pop in the bat to really be convincing anyone to become a DH. Again, this guy is a former Gold Glover, so seeing the fielding go is definitely a concern because he was never someone who was going to be there just because of his hitting. Obviously, Marte can hit a ball, and I don't think that his time in the MLB is completely up. I do believe he'll find some role in a platoon spot going forwards, but it likely won't be with the Mets unless he's want to be a complete bench guy. And again, considering the fact that it's kind of a stretch if he could play the outfield and the Mets do want to go more defensive, I'd be pretty surprised if we see Starling Marte back in a Mets uniform. But on top of that, there's also Mark Vientos who would likely, if the Mets do have a DH roster spot or a DH who's already on the roster, it would be Vientos, who, after the All-Star game, did get things going a little better, had a 778 OPS, on top of that bat with a 246 average and a 476 slugging, so the home run hitting is better. After the All-Star break alone, Vientos had more home runs than Starling Marte did for the whole season. So when we consider that, it does just sort of feel like, as mentioned by Abriano, the writing's on the wall here for Starling Marte. Well, he had an excellent 4 years with the Mets. Definitely going to miss watching that guy suit up in a Mets uniform. It's really, when I look back in a couple of years, obviously that's where I'm going to remember him. So we'll see where this goes. Obviously, the offseason is going to have a bunch more updates than this, and they're only going to get bigger and bigger. So, guys, make sure to subscribe to Mets Digest if you're enjoying the content. Like this video, turn on post notifications. Have a wonderful day, guys. I'll catch you later.